Yep, it is that time of the football season already. Champions League football is back, and for the first time ever, we have 6 English teams competing in Europe's elite competition. We have footballing expert Dougie Critchley joining me now. Hi there. Both North London teams in action tonight, both against Spanish opposition. What can we expect?
Well, it's incredibly exciting, Hayley. The Champions League is back and Arsenal and Spurs taking on Spanish opposition, as you mentioned. Arsenal are travelling to Athletic Club and they've got an amazing record, recent record against Spanish opposition. They are aiming to become the first side in European football history to win 6 consecutive games against Spanish opposition. You could see these 2 games against Real Madrid in the quarterfinals of the Champions League last year. They played Girona in the group stage. The previous season, they played Sevilla. And they'll go in with a lot of confidence after a great result against Nottingham Forest at the weekend. As for Spurs, they play Villarreal, a side that won the Europa League in 2021. They then reached the Champions League semi-finals in 2022. And it's a huge occasion for Thomas Frank. He's managed 425 games in charge of Brøndby, Brentford and now Spurs. But this is his first ever game in the Champions League. But they can go in with a lot of confidence after winning that London derby against West Ham this weekend.
How confident do you think Arsenal will be of maybe winning it? Because they've gone from quarterfinals 2 years ago, semi-finalists last season. Is this a season they can go all the way?
I think so. I think there's a real belief around the club. I mean, yeah, as you say, a quarter-final against Bayern Munich in 2024 last year, reached the semi-finals, were slightly outplayed maybe against PSG, but they had that statement win against Real Madrid in the previous round, winning 5-1. It does feel like this squad, after a real strong summer of business in terms of improving that depth around the squad, feels really, really set to go very deep in every competition. You look at who might be on their bench going forward, and it's Ethan Nwaneri, it's Miles Lewis-Skelly, Mikel Merino, Piero Hincapié, Ben White, Kai Havertz. It really does feel like a squad that can challenge on every front this season. And I would put them amongst the favourites alongside probably Barcelona, Real Madrid and Liverpool as it stands. It's very notoriously difficult for clubs to win consecutive Champions Leagues. The only sides to do that since 1990 is Real Madrid, which is why I discount PSG as it stands right now. But Arsenal feel like they've got a very decent chance indeed.
Oh, what about Thomas Frank? A huge night in his career for him, isn't it, really? His first game in Europe as a manager. What can you expect from Villarreal then?
Villarreal are notoriously known for much more defensive football, or at least their manager is, in Marcelino. He sets his team up in a 4-4-2 formation. But last year, he sort of interestingly took off the handbrake slightly, and actually only Barcelona and Real Madrid scored more goals than them last year. They've had a pretty disruptive summer, I think it's fair to say. Alex Baena, who created the most chances in the entirety of Europe last season, he left to Atletico Madrid. Thierry Barry went to Everton. Yeremy Pino joined Crystal Palace late on as well, but they have made some interesting incomings as well. Tajon Buchanan, who spent last season on loan from Inter Milan there, he signed permanently. Molero arrived from Las Palmas as well, and Georgios Mikotadze joined from Lyon. And they've got off to a pretty solid start. They did lose at the weekend against Atletico Madrid, but you can expect the likes of Nicola Pepe, former Arsenal player, to be full of motivation against Spurs tonight.
Oh, there you go. OK. What else should people be looking out for this evening then?
Well, there's some great ties. I think the one to really keep an eye on outside of the English clubs is probably Real Madrid against Marseille. Real Madrid aiming to win a 16th Champions League this season. Last season was just the second time in the last 10 years that they haven't won one of the 3 major trophies available to them. There's also Qarabag going to Benfica. That's an interesting tie. So much speculation around Ruben Amorim and potentially being a target for Benfica. PSV made the knockouts last year before losing heavily to Arsenal. And then Juventus versus Borussia Dortmund looks absolutely fascinating. Juventus won a massive game against Inter Milan at the weekend, 4-3. They were 3-2 down late on. Adzic, this Montenegrin midfielder who's come through their academy after playing in their next-gen side last year, he scored a brilliant winning goal there. And Serhou Guirassy for Borussia Dortmund has been absolutely amazing at the start of this season. So much intrigue all across Europe. And we've got the next 2 days to enjoy as well, with games on Wednesday and Thursday.
We do. And we know it's still very early on in the football season, you know, around Europe. Do you think there could be dark horses this year in the Champions League? Do you think we will get those surprises?
Yeah, I've kind of picked out 2 teams that I think could be worth keeping an eye on. Galatasaray, they play Atletico Madrid and Liverpool in the group stages. They've got a really interesting front line of Victor Osimhen, who scored nearly 40 goals last year, Mauro Icardi, formerly of Inter Milan and PSG, Leroy Sané signed from Bayern Munich this summer, Ilkay Gundogan. It really does feel like close to as what we've seen in Turkey as a super team in recent seasons as well. Borussia Dortmund reached the final in 2023. Last year, they reached the quarter-finals, lost to eventual semi-finalist Barcelona, but they did beat them at home. And they then went into the Club World Cup in the summer and reached the quarter-finals too. So it does feel like Niko Kovac has created a very effective cup team there. And Joe Bellingham, Jude's brother, has got off to a very strong start there as well. So that's definitely a player to keep an eye on as the tournament progresses.
Yeah, so we know about him, but what about others making a breakthrough, do you think, in terms of players? Anyone you've got your eye on?
Yeah, these three, I think, are the players to watch. Georgios Mikitadze, I briefly mentioned him earlier. He's joined Villarreal now from Lyon late on in the window, but this is a really exciting player that lit up Euro 2024. Kenan Yildiz, Turkish, 20-year-old, playing for Juventus. He's been highly rated in Serie A for a number of seasons now, but is really exploding at the start of this season. Already got 1 goal and 3 assists in Serie A. Scored a beautiful goal against Inter Milan at the weekend. And then Franco Mastantuono, who signed from Argentina for Real Madrid this summer. Felt like his minutes may be hard to come by at the start of this season, with Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. and Arda Güler looking to back up Kylian Mbappe, who started the season so brilliantly. But he's already impressed so many at the Bernabeu with his tenacity and ability to play in so many different positions as well. So I think these could be the breakthrough stars to keep an eye on.
Oh, that was a lot of information. Amazing. Thank you very much. So
Pleasure.
much looking forward to this. Yeah, great. Thank you, Dougie. It will.